What a betrayal of the trust the small man placed in this government. What bothers me deeply, though, is the fact that this government appears to be totally insensitive to the suffering of the people who put them there.
This is a visionless budget. We are not surprised that the Minister of Finance is trying to fool the Bahamian people in that he cares for them by spending the country's money. With respect to the communications itself, this budget statement does not address the thousands of people who were laid off and have given up looking for work since the FNM came into office. There are about 45,000 persons unemployed and underemployed, and the government's proposals merely address the tip of the iceberg. Secondly, we are concerned of the changes in the figures on the national economy of the Bahamas. Our own experts will be studying these issues and responding appropriately. We also note that the Minister of Finance is unable to offer any prediction that unemployment will change. His statement shows that there will continue to be high unemployment in the country. We are not surprised. As usual, we saw no plan to solve this problem in the long term. This admission in and of itself is an admission of failure by the Minister of Finance in managing the country's economy. Not only that, the news about public service is also not a surprise. The Minister of Finance had no choice. The public service needs relief. Too little, too late. What else can one say in response to the budget communication? If you want to know this government's real values, their real priorities, look to the budgets they produce when elections are not looming. Because in nearly every corner of our nation today, there is unprecedented suffering. Bahamians today are feeling the consequences of inaccurate forecasting, increased taxes, a struggling economy, and few job opportunities. The FNM has mismanaged this economy, and the Bahamian people are paying the consequences. Although in many countries the recovery began long ago. There is no courage in this government, no one willing to admit that their failures have slowed our economy, and worse, no vision to empower Bahamians going forward. Instead, there were increased costs for business and the ordinary man, which led to increased prices to consumers. When the government increased taxes, they drove the economy further into recession, penalizing in a tangible way Bahamian entrepreneurs and the ordinary working Bahamian. This government raised your taxes, took your money, and is now asking you to be grateful that they're giving some of it back to you. That's what today's budget communication amounted to. A political plea for your support, paid for by your money. It is not surprising that the Minister of Finance will try to claim that he has done a good job. The question we ask, however, is a good job for whom? It may be over the special interest friends. I should say, the recession itself may be over for the special interest friends who have benefited disproportionately from this government's policies. However, on the ground there has been increased poverty, increased hunger, homelessness, and hopelessness. Nothing in this budget indicates that the government truly appreciates the seriousness of the crisis or its effects on the vast majority of Bahamians they claim to represent. And don't forget it, wherever we go in this country, we see increased poverty, increased hunger, increased homelessness, and increased hopelessness. This budget does not provide any plans or vision for the establishment of careers for the majority of the youth of the Bahamas. We heard short-term proposals for temporary employment for some, but we did not hear any vision as to the opportunities for the majority of our youth to establish and grow their careers to ultimately become entrepreneurs and owners of the economy of the Bahamas. This government has put special interests and foreign interests first, not Bahamians. In addition, this government has failed to address the medium and long-term sustainability of the economy of the Bahamas and the best interests for Bahamians. Again, in the current budget, there are no plans for the development of the economy of the Bahamas for the best interests of Bahamians. We say again that the Minister of Finance, too little, too late.
They obviously believed in you. They believed in you more than you believed in them or cared about them. Although you can't afford to admit it, they well know that this country is in the midst of a financial and social inferno. And all they have is a bucket with one drop of water, while we're suffering a financial and social inferno. Unemployment is rampant and increasing. Businesses are losing money and closing. VAT on electricity, water, medical, cancer medications. People cannot afford it because an additional cost for VAT. And if they truly care about the Bahamian people, they care about Baintown, Grantstown, Farm Road, Angliston, Grove, South Beach, whatever. Wouldn't they declare a VAT-free day or week during the back to school so that our poor people can now buy their clothing, their school items? They promised faithfully to put Bahamians first.
They got a debit card.
That promise, Mr. Deputy, has proven as empty as the minimum wage compromise. Their power broking, their extended electioneering has put the Bahamian people's interest at the bottom of their list every time. You know what it's like to be told that in a little while you'll have no job? You know the stress one go through, the discomfort, the pain, knowing that in a little while you won't be able to pay your light bill, mortgages, you won't be able to give your family whatever resources they need. That's painful. Since then, Mr. Speaker, the redundancy layoff ball had kept rolling and gathered more moss. Unfortunately, the moss is a lot of families that will grow more desperate and even more unable to pay bills. That means that more Bahamians will be facing the nightmare of foreclosure on their homes with no mortgage relief in sight And as I said earlier, you can't prevent every eventuality. But honest intentions and proper planning can go a long way to ease individual hurt and damage to the Bahamian economy. But honesty is not a part of them. Shame, they have none. So that's not in their vocabulary. Blackout here, blackout there. I was visiting Spanish Wells the other day, and people were leaving because there was power, no light. People who came, spend their vacation, had to leave. No light. Harbor Island. I was visiting Spanish Wells, and the problem was in Harbor Island. They were leaving. But, Mr. Deputy, what even make it worse? With all the blackouts and the shortages, people are losing, and believe me, Mr. Deputy, the electrical equipment. It's raining, fans being short-circuited, microwave, raining hard times, air-conditioned TV, suffering. Other electronics, it's raining murder. These don't pay them. Through our streets. They must try, and it's raining crime. They have no job to start off with. It's raining. They're getting a little minimum wage for this debate in the day. But these black out and destroy all of their electrical equipment, electronics, and then it's not replaced. From listening to the various, Mr. Deputy, from listening to the various TV and radio shows, from listening to the various TV and radio shows, are coming, Mr. Speaker, because it appears that ordinary Bahamians have a better grasp on the way forward than the PLP. We hear of the push to revive and expand many of the traditional economic pursuits, such as sponging and straw crop. The cost of living, Mr. Deputy, being made in visual arts. It's raining. It's raining, increasing the cost of living. To see the vast, and I say to the Bahamian people, as this rain continues with poor governance, crime, joblessness, hard times, is it not time? Is it not time? Despite the fact that I am deeply concerned that BTC is now having to offer a third tranche of voluntary separation employee package, I see a glimmer of sound thinking in BC proposed outsourcing of services and paving the way for more entrepreneurship in the telecommunication industry. I sincerely hope to see it take root, and I hope that BTC would allow the outsourcing and transparency, so that those employees of BTC would be given first choice. As an honest man, Mr. Deputy, I have to emphasize that poverty and unemployment alleviation cannot be fixed by any government alone. Every citizen and resident in this country has a role to play in learning more, developing more expertise in whatever we do, and caring more about the less fortunate and the community in general. Ashley McBain, Corporate Communications Vice President of Kirstner International, the managing company of one and only Ocean Club, has provided a big hint that the Minister of Tourism should take seriously. We must do more to insist on quality in everything we do. Every Bahamian, every time. Quality in the Bahamas tourism experience must be memorable for highest quality and not just escape from near brushes with crime. Right now, Mr. Deputy, As far as I'm concerned, PLP stands for putting people last. The GPA, I box it for you. Mr. Deputy, I knew they would say that wrong, but I box it for you. I box it for you.
Y'all know what that is, right?
All right?
Y'all know what that is, right?
Now, while in Andres, Mr. Deputy, while in Andres, and I tried to explain that to them, they said, no, Doc, what PLP means, people loving punishment. But Andres don't love punishment anymore. As I move throughout, nobody wants punishment anymore. People loving punishment. But people love no more punishment. The GPA of the Christie government 2.0 as regards people care is far below the 2.0. Right now, it would be a happy circumstance if it could reach the D plus of the national average in educational achievement. They have to build in concrete using a solid and creative plan. I'm glad to hear about the new social safety net reform program. But a word of caution, and Honorable Minister, listen to me, a word of caution. I agree that improving education achievement is an imperative. But is their proposed methodology sound? If the children are failing in Ministry of Education schools, how in the world can the ministry be solely responsible for tutoring the client children of the new social service program? Isn't this a case of physician heal thyself? Let us think more deeply about this. Thank you for the increase in the minimum wage. I say that my prayer is that it benefits more than the food store owners. May the good Lord help our struggling Bahamian families to make the most of it. And I put you on notice, public. The time has come to make a serious effort to truly putting Bahamians first. And Mr. Deputy, just one before I close, I just want to ask the Minister of National Security if he would kindly look into a matter that I am gravely concerned about, that the Police Staff Association. I am led to believe that the Commissioner has given a directive that now all private security work will now be given to senior officers and taken away from the Police Staff Association. I would like the Minister to look into that, because if that is true, that will cause a serious morale issue within the police force, and we cannot have any dismantling of the Police Staff Association or an unwelcoming service at this time. Mr. Minister, would you kindly look into that, and if that's true, remedy that problem, please. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Honourable Member. And all members just kindly pause. Just kindly pause.
Members, Chair recognized member for Bain and Grand Star.
Point of order, just like
Point of order.